Hi, I'm Mitch Shoemaker, and today is day 56 of my doing 100 days of YouTube videos and focusing on my writing. So, yay, I made it to day 56. Um, Not really sure how I feel about that. I've been thinking about how very creative I am, which is kind of an interesting way to think of things. So, I'm very grateful that I did my 100 days of gratitude because it's changed my perspective and my thought process on things. I am a procrastinator. I do put things off to the last minute. And not that I don't want to write things for my books and not that I don't want to finish my books because I want to do all of those things. But this past week or so, I haven't been feeling good. And this month, I think I've just taken random days off and done other random things as far as my writing goes, just to say that I wrote something for the day. So I'm just finding it very interesting how creative I have become in finding different ways to write something, to say that I wrote something for the day, even though it's not specifically towards or in any of the books that I intend to publish. And although I have written some things this week that have to do with books I intend to publish, it hasn't been necessarily on or in my laptop with the actual story. So I'm still gonna have to go back through and type that stuff up or remember it or something. I don't know. So today I was being creative again because I'm just kind of having a rough day today. No particular reason, just not doing well. I think in part it's because when I don't feel good, I don't know how to take care of myself when I don't feel good. I have a tendency to not sleep, which is what I know you need when you don't feel good, to to not eat and to not drink fluids. So all the things that you need for your body to heal and recuperate quickly are all the things that I stopped doing. I also stopped reading my scriptures and meditationals and stopped journaling and all of those other things that help me emotionally and spiritually to stay healthy. So I kind of just stopped doing all of those things. And even though I'm feeling better and I could get up and do stuff, I didn't get up and do stuff today. I don't have an excuse for that. And part of it, I think, was because I knew I needed to sit down and read my scriptures and meditationals. And not that that's a bad thing. That's a good thing. It always makes me feel better when I do that, to start my day that way. And I didn't. I don't have any excuses. I don't. But I also remembered tonight that I haven't been taking my vitamins because if I don't eat, I don't take those, which means I haven't been taking my DDR Prime, which is kind of my essential oils for my depression. And I do suffer from depression. So that has a tendency to just sneak up on me and take over without my realizing or thinking about it. And I realized tonight also that I have a tendency to not let myself cry. And I'm like, I don't I don't always feel the need to cry, but maybe I'm still dealing with some grief with some things like letting go. Like I realized yesterday I was talking about in my video that I've kind of outgrown the stories in my head. Like I'm no longer, I don't know, I don't connect to my characters the same way that I used to because I've changed. So, but my characters haven't for the stories that I intend to write. So it's kind of like that separation, like I'm separating myself from my stories. I was kind of feeling that last night. And I think there's a little bit of a grieving process that goes in all of that because it is a process of letting go. It's a process of letting go of things that I've held on to for a very long time. And even though I know I don't need them anymore, and I know it'll be good to write those stories, to let them go, to put them out into the world for other people to read, to share, to enjoy, whatever it is. And I didn't want to do it because I was worried about it becoming like permanent and then I couldn't go back and daydream or change the stories or whatever, which I mean, I guess technically I could go back and do, but I don't need to. I won't need to. And it's starting to realize that I won't need to do that. It doesn't change the fact that I still want to write them, but I think it takes away the fear or the connection that I have to them. Not that I'm not still connected in some way. I don't know. I haven't actually written all of my stories, but I think it's kind of a process of letting go for me. And I think by letting go, by not feeling that attached to it, it allows me some form of safety, security to be like, okay, I no longer need this. So then it's safe to write about it. It's safe to let it go. It's safe to share it with other people because it's no longer something that I'm embarrassed about. It's no longer something that's feels like it's part of me anymore, because it doesn't need to be. But it's also sad, like you get out of a relationship, or you graduate from high school or college or whatever it is, you move on in life, but it's like you're happy and excited for the future and for what it holds, but at the same time you're sad because it's ending a chapter in your life. And see, I wish I wouldn't cry when I do these videos. That's not my intent. But I think I realized in writing about letting go of my stories, or talking about it yesterday and thinking about it today, that there's some grieving involved in that. Even though I'm excited about the future, it's still sad to let go of the past, to realize that I don't need that anymore. And that's a good thing. I'm sure it's a good thing, but it's still a hard thing for me to let go of, to detach from. And there's still that grieving process, saying goodbye to an old friend, basically. So I think maybe I just having a little depression, a little grieving or whatever today, and not, and being me, being me, I just don't want to face my emotions or feelings. And the problem with that is when I which facing my emotions, my feelings, or whatever it is that I need to do for the day, I end up avoiding doing anything for the day, which sucks, because I know that if I am aware of what's going on, if I come to the present moment, if I start doing stuff that I'm supposed to do, then I have to feel those emotions. They all come up, and I just don't want to. And the crazy part is I'm pretty sure this is a subconscious decision of mine, because in the forefront of my mind I'm thinking about all the stuff I need to do, and I'm very frustrated with myself because I can't make myself just get up and do it, and I don't understand why. And then I get ready to go to bed, and all of a sudden the reasons when I go to do my writing start coming up, because when I write, all of those things come up, and a lot of my frustrations and other things come up as well. So I was thinking about a lot of those things tonight, and I got kind of an early Christmas present yesterday. I got this fun little planner. I'm not really sure how to use planners, I'll be perfectly honest. I think I have one from high school that I never actually filled out, but I put a bunch of stuff in it, like my school ID and everything else like that. And I used the notes section to write poems and things like that in it, and the contact section. And I kept that thing for years because it had a list of I actually probably still have that in a box somewhere. It's one of those things that you could like zip up and you could just change the calendar out. Never really used the calendar, never did the daily thing. I do, however, have a little notebook that I write in when I do my scriptures and meditationals. I write my, I just kind of pray to see myself the way that God sees me, and then I write down that, and then a list of stuff that I want to do for the day. So the cool part about this thing that starts in January is that not only does it have the calendar, but after it has the calendar, it has a lovely little thing for every single day. I don't know if you can see this, but it's basically a schedule for the day. So it has your top 3 things. I always have way more than just 3 things that I want to do for the day. But if I do like my scriptures and meditationals as 1, and my journaling as 2, for like non-negotiable things, and then my writing and my YouTube video, those could kind of combined to be my 3 things. It's more like 5 really, but still. And then it just kind of, you make a schedule. But it's interesting because it has like the beginning of the day, and then it has your schedule for the day, and then it has the ending of the day. So at night, like, what are you going to do tonight? So my journal, I could actually go at the end of the night, because that's what I do at night. And my writing, because it does actually work better for me to do my writing in the morning before I go to work, if I would ever do that. Because I have had days where I did that, and it works really well for me. So this is kind of cool. Instead of using my notebook that I've been using, I'll try to fill it up by the end of the month, because I don't like to leave it empty. And this is for an entire year. And it has a notes section in the back, so I can still write notes per day I will probably fill that up much faster if I use that for my notes section. But this does give me a section to do my to-do list. So maybe I could just use the other notebook if it's not full to just recognizing God's hand in my life and just write my little notes on that and then make my to-do list in my little daily planner thing, because it would be sad not to use this cute little thing. It gives me something to kind of maybe track my schedule better. And I think whoever gave this to me knows that I'm struggling with being consistent with my schedule. So I'm like, okay, God knows what I need, or someone else does, because they gave me something to kind of help me stay on track a little bit better. So I think that's a very kind, generous gift of them. They also gave me another journal, which I'm not ready to fill yet because I still haven't finished the other two. But I'm excited because I love getting new journals. I love journals. And I got more colored pens. I love colored pens. And the ones I have are going to run out of ink eventually anyway. So we're all good with that. Anyway, that's kind of, the point of pulling out the planner besides that was that at the beginning of this planner, it has, it has a ruler. I'm not really sure what the ruler is for. Oh, it says today. I think you're supposed to be able to pop it in and out and use it as like a bookmark or something. That will probably never happen. And it has a bunch of stickers in it. Gotta love stickers, right? I don't know what I'm gonna do with all those fun stickers. Do today, don't forget. Scary stickers. Birthday, exercise, grateful. Need the gratitude ones. One looks like a bunch of ribbon type stickers. There's 2 pages of stickers. Like, I need 2 pages of stickers. There's a point to this, I promise. I'm just very easily distracted and I get excited about little things. So I opened this up tonight just to kind of look through it. And it does have, at the very beginning, it has a start with the big picture the first day. So kind of a thing to do your big picture. And then it has set your goals. And in the section that says accomplish by, you're supposed to pick a date you want to accomplish it by. I'm not putting any dates in there because I know better. I don't do well with deadlines. I mean, I'll scramble and try to finish things by the deadline, but then if I don't, then I get disappointed and I feel defeated and I give up. Or I set another deadline that I don't meet, and it's just this continuous, feels like I'm just setting myself up for failure. So for me, I don't feel like I want to set a specific goal because I keep trying to do that with my writing. And every time I do that with my writing, I get disappointed and it makes me want to stop. But then when I give myself the freedom to write whatever I feel like I need to write and to just work on whatever I feel like I need to work on, I'm more inclined to write. And I know eventually I will finish things, and I know I can take breaks and go back to things, and it works for me. So that's just how my brain works, depending on my day, depending on my mood, depending on what I'm doing in my life, how well I'm taking care of myself or not. And it just kind of depends on what inspiration comes to me. And I'm learning to go with the inspiration, to go with the flow and be like, okay, instead of fighting and saying, I have to work on this particular story, I have to do this thing, I have a deadline for this, I don't have to do that because I don't have a deadline. I don't have a set date to finish or do any particular thing. So I would like to have things finished. I would like to have things done, but I can't make myself do them. If I could, I would have gone to work today, would have done a whole bunch of different things. My whole day would be completely different today. So, and then of course, it just gives you day 3, what is this, the third one, design your day. So it gives you the option, morning routine, plan your day early, identify 3 to-dos, fitness, family time. I'm not doing any of those things. And then, I just kind of wrote down my list of things that I do every day, basically. And then evening routine, take time to be grateful, recap the day. Basically just write in my journal for all of that. Celebrate progress, prepare for tomorrow. I just write in my journal. That covers that. And then, of course, it has the 4th one. It says stay on course, and it gives you a list of things to keep track of. Trips, important birthdays, trips, travels, anniversaries, family schedule, class schedule, school, church events, just stuff you can put in the calendar. I went through and just wrote down all the birthdays I could remember off the top of my head, but I'm sure more will come up as I go through the year. It also has like finance goals and important personal events, etc., etc. So I figured for my writing tonight, I may as well fill that stuff in. But also in filling it in, I was feeling a little bit discouraged because I do that. That's the depression talking. That's those old default settings talking. I know that. Um, but it's just another one of those things to realize that I have been wanting to be a published author for years. I have been worked with a mentor for over a year. It's been like 2 years since I started trying to write my books to get them published, and they're still not published. Well, I guess it's not quite been 2 years. March will be 2 years. And it's only December, but it's been almost 2 years. It's been over a year and a half. And I think I started Lanoya in July of last year. So it's been over a year, almost a year and a half since I started working on Lanoya and the Teachers of Powers. And so that book in and of itself, just from start to finish, and it's still not finished, that's the one I've been working on most consistently. But right now it's with a friend to do some editing and revisions. So when it comes back, I'm still going to have to go back through and make more changes to it. And then I have to figure out the whole formatting and the book cover thing and all of those other things in order to get it published. So still in the process, but I can't do anything about those things right now. So those are things that are out of my control. So I just kind of have to play the waiting game, which I hate. So, which is why that book is not published yet. But it would be nice if it's published before the 2-year mark of having worked on it. And then, of course, there's the Fall of Espinglanja, which I wrote originally like 10 years ago. And now I'm in the process of trying to rewrite that book. And then when I finished that one, I started the Wise One. I started 2 different beginnings of the Wise One. And I've connected the 2, so now it's 1 story instead of 2 stories. But I haven't finished the story. And then, of course, there's The Boy from the Stone, which is just a fun, random one that I was going to put in the middle of the Wise One, just have it kind of alternate the 2 characters. And then my mentor was like, oh, you could make it a whole other book. And I'm like, oh, I could make it a whole other book. Now I have a whole other book. Great. Still not finished. This is my crazy brain and all the different things that I bounce around with. So there's that part of me that's just a little discouraged because it's taking me longer because I don't focus on just one thing. Because things don't happen in my timeline, they happen in God's timeline. And I don't know what God's timeline is. I don't know his timing. I don't know all the things that I have to go through, that I have to figure out, that I have to do in order to get published. And I keep thinking I know what it is and how easy it's going to be, and it's not as easy as I think it is, and it's taking like 10 times longer than I thought that it would. So it's very much so frustrating to me. And then, of course, I had the thought to make my gratitude list, and I'm like, great, make a gratitude list. That's what I love doing, right? And then I wrote down gratitude list. I'm going to try to see if I can read my handwriting and do this. And then underneath that, I wrote things to remember. And these are things that I just need to remember, and maybe not necessarily on a daily basis, but maybe whenever I'm feeling discouraged or unmotivated or whatever it is. I have my vision board to look at. I have other things to look at. I have lots of things all over my house to look at. I forget. And I forget to look at those things, or I get so used to staring at them every day that they kind of, sometimes I take them for granted, which is not good. But these are things that I thought of today. And the first one was always be gentle with myself and others. And I was like, I just need to remember to be gentle with myself. And then forgive myself for struggling, because it's okay. Everybody struggles. Sometimes I act like I'm the only person in the world that's struggling, and I'm not. I know I'm not. And I know other people struggle with things that are way worse than what I'm dealing with. And most of my struggles are overcoming emotional blocks, mental blocks, and not actual like physical impairments or things like that. So it's not something that's visible to the rest of the world, the outside world, and, not always visible to myself sometimes, which is part of the struggle, because I don't always see what's going on with myself. I don't always understand why I keep fighting myself and not just doing what I know I need to do, because it's so simple and I've done it so many days in a row. And then I take a few days off or a week off because I don't feel good. And then all of a sudden, it's like all those habits that I've spent months getting into just disappear. And it feels like I'm starting all over again, even though I know I'm not. It just feels like it. So I need to remember to forgive myself and to be gentle with myself because of that. And then allow myself to have bad days. It's okay to have a bad day. And not that today was horrible, it's just I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do or that I needed to do. So I need to do better tomorrow. And I know that I can do better tomorrow. And then, of course, allow myself to cry, which I still struggle very much so to do, especially when I don't entirely understand why I feel like crying. That irritates me. I know crying is a good thing. I know it can be healthy for you. I know it creates or stimulates hormones and things that actually help your body to heal. It's a very good thing, whether you're crying because you're sad or angry or happy or whatever. It's a good thing. But I grew up in a world and an environment where crying wasn't a good thing, where I was told I would be given a reason to cry, or like, if you're going to cry, I'll give you a reason to cry, or if you're crying and upset, then everybody else is upset. So I can't be upset because then everybody else is upset. So it just it wasn't allowed, basically, in my world growing up. And so I don't like to cry. I've done it. I do it on occasions. But if I'm perfectly honest, I probably cry less than 10 times a year. And that's probably not very healthy. And I don't cry for very long, maybe 5 minutes or less, because I don't like to cry. And I will do whatever I can to distract myself from crying or from being upset. So I need to remember to allow myself to cry. And I was thinking that tonight, if I would just let myself have a good cry, maybe I would feel better. And that's probably true. Just I haven't convinced myself to do it. Which is a good thing about cry movies, because you can watch a movie that makes me cry and then I don't feel so bad about crying, because then the crying just comes naturally as part of watching the movie. So maybe I just need to watch a sad movie to make myself cry. I don't think that's quite the same as crying over something that I need to let go of, but it is one way to get me to cry. Doesn't always work, by the way, because I still don't like to cry even to movies. And then I put on here, don't focus on how long it is taking to accomplish my goals. Focus on how far I have come and what I have accomplished so far. Which, to me, is like one of those tender mercies. To remember where I started and where I'm at now. Because 2 years ago, I wasn't anywhere near having a book ready to publish. And now I at least have one that I've sent to a friend to be revised. And I'm still in the process of rewriting Recognizing God's Hand in My Life, but I at least wrote down everything for the ideas for that. I have ideas written down for The Boy for the Stone, The Wise One. I'm not really sure what to do with the mess I've made of The Fall of Espinglanja. I may just have to start over, which I don't want to do, which is why I haven't touched that one in a while. And it's really probably not as big of a mess as I make it out to be. I just feel like my ideas are all scattered, and I'm trying to figure out how to put them all together and how to change perspectives so that it's just from 3 characters' points of views instead of 20 characters' points of views. And the only way I could do it from 20 characters' points of views is if I write 20 books leading up to it, so that you get to know each one of those characters individually, and then you bring them all together, and then the people that read all the 20 books will be like, okay, now this book makes sense. I'm so not going to do that. I might someday, if I get really bored, go back and create stories for all of those other characters, which I could do. But that's not something I'm interested in doing right now. And that just feels like it would be prolonging the inevitable as far as finishing my stories and writing, the storyline that I want to write. So I don't want to do that if I don't have to. Anyway, I may have to skip that and just write The Wise One, because Fall of Espinglanja and Lenoy and the Teachers of Powers is a prequel series to the Wise One series anyway. So those ones explain the other ones, but the other ones may be able to stand alone without those ones. Anyway, but it's good for me to remember how far I've come instead of focusing on how far I still have to go. Because the reality is, I don't know how far I still have to go. It could be 1 month before I get a book published. It could be 6 months before I get a book published. But at least I'm in the middle of the process somewhere, and I'm not giving up on myself or the process yet. I won't. I'm not. I'm kidding. I'm not. And then I put, don't focus on what I haven't done, focus on what I have done. Because if I look at what I have done, I always feel better than if I focus on what I haven't done. Because my list of things I haven't done is always 1,000 times longer than the list of things that I have done. And the problem is, I will never be able to accomplish all the things that I haven't done, especially not in one day. It's impossible. And if that's where my focus always is, it goes back to being negative. It goes back to the default settings. It goes back into that negative cycle that keeps me in my state of depression that I don't want to be in. So, this is going to be a really long video tonight. I apologize. And then I put, don't focus on my to-do list. Focus on what I'm willing to do. And I think that's really true for me, because as much as I have my to-do list, as much as I like to sit down and write out and pray to figure out what it is that I'm supposed to do for the day, some days I'm not even willing to make a to-do list. But if there's something that I am willing to do, if I can at least start something, then I start to feel better because I at least did that. And then if I did that, then I could do something else. And then I can do something else. And then I'm always amazed at the end of the day what I get accomplished. But if I focus on what I think I'm supposed to do, or forcing myself to do it in a certain order, then if I'm not willing to do the first thing on the list, then nothing else on the list gets done. So I can look at the list and be like, okay, what am I willing to do? And if I work on what I'm willing to do, then things get done. So I need to remember that. That's why this is called Things to Remember. Because they're things that I know, but they're not necessarily things that I remember or things that I do on a regular basis. So this is part of why I feel like I'm a hypocrite, because I know all the answers. I just don't actually apply them to my life, and my life would be so much better if I did. But then I would probably be perfect, and I am far from perfect, and no one is meant to be perfect in this life. So this is the ideal. Obviously, that would be the ideal. And I have not accomplished the ideal, but I still try, which is a good thing, I think. I hope. And then I put pray for help to face the things that I'm afraid of or that feel overwhelming. Because I know anytime that I pray about something, that somehow I end up just starting a prayer, and then I end up starting to walk around my house and start doing the things that need to be done almost unconsciously without thinking about it. I just start praying and saying, Heavenly Father, I need help with this, I need help with that. And the next thing you know, I'm walking around my house doing all these things, and I was like, oh, I just did this and I just did that. And I'm having like this conversation with God and just telling him all the things that I'm doing while I'm doing it. And then I get all of these things done. So prayer is an amazing gift to me, to be able to communicate, to be able to feel lighter, to suddenly feel like someone else is there helping me go through it. So I'm not having to do it by myself. And to suddenly just feel motivated when I didn't before, to just get up and start doing things. So prayer is amazing, which on days like today, I kind of avoid saying prayers because I know if I pray, it means I have to do something. So something I need to remember to do even when I don't feel like doing it, because it will help me to overcome those emotions and to be able to keep going. And then I put, remember that I am a beloved daughter of God, and I have gifts, talents, and eternal potential. So there's much more to me than what I think, and I don't have to always think the negative. And with God, all things are possible. And this life is a test. It is not meant to be easy, but I can still find joy and peace in the journey, which I really like. And I need to remember that I can be happy now. I don't have to wait until I've accomplished everything in my life to be happy. I don't have to wait for like Prince Charming or someone to come in and rescue me. I don't have to wait for everything to be fixed and perfect. I can find things to be happy about or joyful about every day in the moment. And finding things to be grateful for helps me to find things to be happy about, and to feel loved and to feel blessed. And I'm really grateful that I could make this list, because it does make me feel loved and feel blessed, and it makes me not feel like such a failure for not doing things today, even though I know I needed to. And so I know I'm going to have to suffer the consequences for not going to work and not getting stuff done. It's just going to put me that much further behind than I was before. But I know I can forgive myself for that, and I can move on, and I can do better tomorrow, and I don't have to spend the rest of tonight or the rest of this week beating myself up for not doing better today. And then just because it is taking longer to get to where I want to be doesn't mean I'm failing or that I won't make it eventually, which is something I really needed to remember, because a lot of times when I don't reach my goal at my deadline, like I said before when I was doing this, I didn't set the dates for my goals, because if I don't meet things by my deadline, if I don't get there in the timeline that I think I'm going to get there by, I have a tendency to feel defeated, to feel like I failed, that I screwed everything up. And I don't just start with like, oh, I failed, or I messed something up, or I just fell short. It's always the epic failure. It's always the extreme, the worst possible thing that it can be. So that is something that I need to remember. And also something I didn't write on here, that I am thinking that it's like getting to where I want to be doesn't necessarily mean that it's where God wants me to be. So I know that I feel like the things that I'm doing as far as making these videos and working on my writing are things that are helping me get to know myself better, to understand God better, to recognize more of God in my life. And as I do these things, I hope that it's getting me closer to God and closer to the path that God wants me to be on, the path that He set for me and for my life. And I feel like as long as I'm doing what He wants me to do, that things are going to fall into place and things are going to work. They're not necessarily going to be easy. I am going to have to struggle with things, but I will get there. And I just don't happen to know where there is. I do know my goal. I feel like I need to get my books published. That is the ultimate goal. That is what I want to be able to do. I want to be able to become a published author. I feel like that's what I'm supposed to do. So I just don't know how long it's going to take to get there. I don't know what I'm going to learn along the way. I know I've discovered a lot of things since I started doing these videos about myself. I know I've made a lot of changes, and I know I'm going to continue to make a lot of changes and discover things about myself. And I'm going to have to continue to remind myself of things like this, because it helps me to put things back into perspective, to not feel like I failed, and to feel like I can continue going, which is why my last thing that I put on here was, God will never give up on me, so I should never give up on myself. And that is something that is new to me. I know God's never given up on me, and I know when I went through my divorce and I wanted to give up, that God didn't give up on me. He didn't stop sending people into my life and giving me reasons to keep going, even though I didn't feel like I had any. And when everything seemed to fall apart this year, I was able to still reach out to go talk to my bishop, to go back to counseling, to start doing these videos because I had a friend that mentioned doing gratitude, and to start finding a purpose in my life, something to focus on, something to look forward to, something that I can do, that I know I can do for the rest of my life. I can write for the rest of my life. I can make videos for the rest of my life. And these are things that hopefully I can turn into careers that I can make money with, so that I don't have to worry about going to work or where the money is going to come from. But it takes a long time to start making money with all of these things. It's not like an overnight thing. It's not like, ooh, instantaneously, whatever. And it's probably one of those things that's going to be like a balance, where I start making money doing this, and then I can cut back on hours with the other job that I have, and I can put more time into this, and then, the back and forth thing until I make enough money doing this that I don't have to do something else. And I have no idea how long that's going to take. And I have no idea if that will ever actually happen, or if this is always just going to be a side thing or a hobby kind of a thing for me. But this is still something that gives me purpose, that makes me happy, that helps me to see myself the way that God sees me, that hopefully allows the people watching to see the changes that I'm making and to know that God loves you as much as he loves me, and that he is there. There's a way up, there's a way out, there is hope, and God never gives up on us. But we do have a tendency to give up on ourselves. I've given up on myself many times, but I always keep starting over. Like, I just can't stay down permanently. There's that inner spirit of mine that's got that strength, that courage, that will to keep going, to fight, that inner fighter. That's what it is. And I'm like, I keep trying to quench that thing, and it keeps coming back up. So apparently I have a fighting spirit, one that does not give up easily or does not stay down for long periods of time, because I do give up temporarily, but I know it's always temporary. I know I will always get back up again. And I know with my writing, eventually I will get to where I open my laptop again and I will start typing up something in my stories and my books. But I'm grateful that I have other outlets of poetry, of things that I can write, along with what I can write in my journal. And so there's just other avenues, other things that I am creative at, which I'm grateful to see that, actually, to realize how very creative I am, even if it is just a creative in making excuses to get out of doing what I don't want to do. But it's still being creative, and I'm grateful that I have that creative mind and those ideas that God blesses me with. And I'm also grateful that in my writing it helps me to put things in my life into perspective, more of an eternal perspective than my limited mortal perspective, because in my little view of my world, sometimes I'm very much failing. I'm not accomplishing things in the time frame that I've set for myself, and everything is taking way longer than I think it's supposed to, and it feels very overwhelming and impossible. And then I do my little writing and I put things in God's perspective and in his timeline, and realize that there's so much for me to learn, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. It's meant to go one day at a time, and I don't have to know where I'm going to end up, just as long as I know I'm going in the right direction. And I know that I'm going in the right direction, or at least I feel like I'm going in the right direction. And I'm still learning and I'm still growing, and that's a positive thing, which is another indication that I'm going in the right direction. It's just, I don't necessarily, I mean, I know the end goal, the end destination, to become a published author, to pass the test of this mortal life, basically, but that's a whole lifetime. The short-term, long-term goal, whatever, is to get my books published, to become a published author. I don't know that I expect to become a famous author, but it might be nice to get enough books out there that I can make money off of it, that I can at least, live off of it instead of having to have some other job. So that when people ask me what I do for a living, I can be like, oh, I'm a writer. And I can share about what I write instead of, whatever other things that I do. So, and then I could, do my other hobbies that I could make money with on occasion as well. So there's that. There's all of my crazy little ideas. But that's what I chose to do, my little creative mind tonight, to do my writing. And I think it's turned into a very long video to share all of that, because I know normally when I write stuff for my story, I just kind of give you a little synopsis and I don't actually share everything that I write. So tonight I just felt like I needed to share all of that. Maybe I need to get a little teary-eyed. Maybe I need to cry. Probably not going to happen. Probably need to, but you know me, I don't go down that road very often if I don't have to. So if I can avoid it, it will be avoided. Not that that's a healthy response, just like not eating and not drinking water and not sleeping, especially when I don't feel good, are all not healthy responses, but that's what I do. I think it's because when I was growing up and I would, stay home from school because I didn't feel good, only it wasn't because I didn't really feel good. It's because I just didn't want to go to school or because I wanted to stay home and read a book. It's because I would stay up all night reading a book and then I was too tired to go to school. And then I would sleep half the day and then I'd do it again just so I could finish a book. Um, Used to be a very avid reader. I'm not so much anymore, but I am grateful that I could write, that I could turn all of these things into writing, and for all the different ways and things that I can write about, that I'm not restricted to a specific story, a specific plot, a specific guideline like you would have to do for writing a paper for school. I never really liked writing papers for school. They were always very restricted. You had to fit into the little box, into the little rules. And I don't play by the rules. I don't follow the rules. I don't fit into that box. I don't think I ever have. I don't think most creative writers do. They all have their own little thing that they get away with, and they break rules of writing and grammar and all of those things all the time because they're writing characters that don't follow those rules, so they don't have to follow the rules either. So it's kind of fun for me to be able to. That's my little rebellious side of me. Gets to break the rules, gets to change things, gets to see how many different ways that I can be creative with writing, the different things that I can learn from my writing about myself and about writing in general. And I'm just very grateful that I can still find things to write, even if they're little things, so that I can still get through my 100 days and not be as strict with myself as I was in the beginning of my 100 days of writing. But at least I'm still writing, and I hope that I continue to find things to write every single day because I think it's very good for me and it helps me to see things. And it still reminds me of that poem that I wrote. I don't remember what it was, like a week ago, about myself, the name poem. That was so much fun. And I'm so grateful that I thought to do that because it really gave me a new perspective of myself as well. So I'm grateful for the different outlets that I have that are all writing, but they're all different types of writing. And I'm not restricted to something. And kind of like free form poetry. It doesn't have to rhyme. It doesn't have to be certain stanzas. It can be however you want it to be. So I'm grateful that I can do that. And I'm grateful I can make these videos and find things to be grateful for. And for all the times that I've smiled and laughed in this whole video, because it just reminds me that I am finding happiness in my life today. I am finding joy, that I am able to forgive myself for not doing everything that I needed to do today or thought that I needed to do today, that I'm allowing myself to move forward and to know that things will get better tomorrow, I hope. And anyway, that's all that I have for today, and I am grateful for those that are watching. And if you like, hit like, subscribe, share with someone else if you think it will help them too. And I hope you have a great day full of gratitude and maybe some writing.